and over the last many years, have a chance to work on a couple more platforms. One of them is actually a dialer. It's called Dial IQ, which allows you to actually contact leads and your customers. So if you buy leads, you'll be able to now use this dialer to actually contact folks. So the funny story about this experience was I had a chance to actually go into many different contact centers to actually see how they use the platform to call customers, right? Every one of them will have a desk phone, right? And they will have this dialer that sits on the browser that you'll be able to go in and just call through the leads, right? And that dialer gives you a lot of information, right? Every time you click on it, it says, hey, this is S.C. Lee. He's going to be buying a home. Here are some of the details. So when you talk to the customer, you have all the insight about it, right? But when you turn your eyes towards the phone, you notice the phone is not doing anything. All it does is just send you the audio, right? So my topic today is about how do you now take that same experience that you come to expect from your soft client, from your desktop client, and actually put that onto the phone. The other fun story was we actually have a feature called Shotgun Connect, okay? So this feature basically allows all the agents to fight for the leads, right? Most of the banking in this industry, they spend the most dollar on buying leads, and all the inside sales folks fight for the leads, right? And the way they were doing it is that when there's incoming new leads, we will do a screen pop. The first person to actually click on it will win the lead, right? So when you walk into the office, you notice this little sticky notes that everyone put on their screen. Anyone could guess what that is? So that is where the screen pop is going to happen, right? So all of them put the sticky notes there so they can just mouse over and just click on it, right? So don't you think that same experience should be on a desk phone? Whenever there's a new lead, you actually have a pop-out on your phone, and you'll be able to click on it and actually win the lead, right? So my talk today is about how do you bring those experience onto a desk phone with the OBi Edition solution. So some of the integration examples that I'm going to be talking about are as follow, right? So, so if you look at today, all of us use a meeting platform, right? You're either on WebEx, you're either on Microsoft Teams, right? But today, when you have an upcoming meeting, you notice that there's a screen pop on your client, right? But the phone is actually not doing anything. Many times, you actually have to go to the phone, put in some digits, and actually make the call out, right? Wouldn't it be great if you actually have an integration or an API, whenever there's a meeting, we allow you to push that notification onto the phone, or the respective soft key will have the right information to do a one-click, and you join the meeting right away, right? And we'll show you guys how to do that. Number two, right, is kind of share with you guys my experience at Velocify, right? How do you take the desktop phone screen and do gamification on it, right? How do you kind of light up the buttons on the phone to show that, hey, you are actually a top leader, right? And as you look down the desk, you notice that some of the agents that are not performing, the LED lights is starting to show yellow, green, etc. How do you use API to actually push all these contents onto the phone to create a gamification experience on your desk phone? We're also going to talk about how you could use that for employee communications, right? So you could use our REST API, send a meeting, say, hey, by the way, John Chamber will be in town today. Please come join us for a webinar, right, or for a meeting. And last but not least, we actually have quite a few big companies out there looking at consumer our APIs for emergency notifications, right? So just see the power of turning on all the phones via a single API, play some alert, screen pop, maybe a picture of the intruder, right? Potentially turn on the audio and start gathering all the insights around the environment, right? So we now have public REST API for you guys to do that all on the phone. Okay, I want to start off my presentation with this one slide here. It's called Voice Analytics, right? You look at a desk phone. I mean, you know, it's designed for voice, right? Great speaker, great mic, right? High definition audio, right? And voice is data, right? How do you actually look at ways to have the phone send all this data out into the cloud or any NLP platform for them to perform more analytics on it. And I'm not sure you guys followed the news. Cisco bought a company yesterday called Voicera, Voica. And this company basically built a bot called Ava. Okay, what Ava is able to do is, whenever you have a meeting, you invite Ava into the meeting, right? Ava is now your virtual assistant, right? She will be helping you to take notes. Jonathan kind of highlighted some of those experiences yesterday, right? It's like, hey, why don't I have a meeting with Jonathan today at 2 p.m.? Hey, Ava, please help me set up a meeting with Jonathan at 2 p.m. Hey, Ava, take respective action. And when you finish the meeting, you get an email with all the different action items, right? So we're going to show you guys how, with the latest 6.4 release of OBi Edition, we actually have a way for you to now build such an experience with our device. Okay, which leads me to our integration with NLP platform. We recently launched a software release 6.4, officially published Monday. So please download it, try it out. And with this integration, we now allow you to tell the phone to send PCM audio to NLP platform of your choice. Today, we have a partnership with 2 key vendors. One of them is DeepGram, another one is called VoiceBase. And what we would do is basically say, hey, you know what, take this audio, send it up to them. They will then decide what to do with it, right? You could go in and say, hey, I want to search for keywords, I want to do a sentiment analysis, and based on that data, you could now push the respective action down to the phone, right? So you could use our API to say, hey, I just sense that the agent spoke some words that he or she is not supposed to. I'm now going to screen pop a message, say, hey, by the way, slow down or stop talking using those language for it, right? So it is our first attempt to build out a platform to allow you guys as developers to go start building the next set of experience on our desk phone. Okay, so let's talk about some of the programmability of our platform, right? I mean, you guys walk into this meeting, for the last 3 days, you guys saw this big sign where we talk about Poly, right? Fully cloud managed and fully programmable, right? You guys must ask, what is that, right? It's a desk phone, right? So our goal of doing that is to allow you to create amazing desktop phone experience. So my goal today is to show you all the different programmability that we have available on our phone. And by the way, we are giving out phones so you guys could go back and play with it and start experiencing it. So the first one we have is what we call the OBi XML API, right? So we allow you to build up an OB framework and have the phone actually pull the data and then display or act on it. We also have another option that we call push, right? So you could use our API, you could use a HTTP push to tell the phone, hey, you know what? I want you to now play the audio. I want you to now do the screen pop, right? So that is one approach of it. The second one is what we call webhook, right? So as you guys are aware, many times you don't want to be the one that is initiating it. You don't want the user to be pushing a button, right? You want the phone to say, hey, when it's ringing, when it's connected, when the call ended, I want you to now call this webhook and do the respective action, right? And the respective action that you're able to send back to the phone could be, hey, I want you to now change the soft key to something else, right? I want you to now record the call, right? So you could actually have different type of experience sent from the cloud over to the phone via our webhook solution. So some of the other options we have is what we call the status notify, right? So what this allows you to do is outside of the regular call states, the connected, the calling, and the ended, we allow you to say, hey, when the speakerphone is off hook, when the user picks up the handset, I actually want you to notify this other server, right? So again, our intent is to expose all the hooks and all the different integration points to allow developers like you guys to go build the next amazing desktop phone experience. Okay, last but not least, Wilson was here, I think, a year or 2 years ago at KlueCon to talk about PDMSSP API. So I'm not going to reiterate that, but basically it's an API for you to go in and do day 2 management, right? Many of you are using that today. You could do reboot, firmware upgrade, right? You could actually call a API to actually, turn on syslocks, right? Go in, actually turn on PCAPs, right? And doing that live instead of having to send a switch out there to gather those data, right? So that API has been available for some time now. Many of you are adopting that. My focus today will be on application APIs, right? So I'm going to show a demo today too on how we drive some of these application APIs. And with that, I'm going to maybe give away some of our cool gifts here. I have headsets and 2 of our VVX phones. So I'm going to ask some tough questions here. And whoever could answer that will get a free headset. So you guys heard about this term called PDMS SP. Anyone here know what that is? The gentleman there? Okay. Do you know what that PDMS SP actually stands for? It stands for Poly Device Management Solution for Service Provider. So here you got it. It's a little headset for you. Thank you. Yep. Thanks for trying. All right. So stay tuned, guys. Continue to stay focused. We have 2 more desk phones to give away today. All right, so this next one is what we call application APIs. Really, really excited about this capability. And that is to allow us to actually embed any of those XML body via our PDMS SP API cloud, right? So now there's no need for you to go out and say, hey, I need to build a server on-prem. You go log into our PDMS SP, we give you a secure key. Now using this secure key, you'll be able to push experience down to the phone, screen pop, announcement, update the line keys, right? And I'm going to do a demo here, right? So I'm going to quickly run through some of this here, show you guys the web page. And actually, if this phone works, we should be able to see this experience. So number 1, this slide will be available for all of you guys. So this is actually the access to our PDMS SP API site, right? So if you go in, we have a set of APIs that we show in the lab, right, for you to go in and get config of the phone, right, reboot, restart, send OBi XML body to the phone, right? And with this, we also have a document that we recently published, which actually gives you reference guide, right? So if you guys want to just take an OBi phone, run through this docs, it shows you examples. You could just cut and paste. Right? So what I would do is I just cut and paste this example here. I'm going to say, hey, I want you to actually play a file on this phone, right? So I'm going to go down, just execute it. It's going to call it.
Happy 4th of July to help you celebrate.
Oh, let me just increase the volume here. I'm going to call it again. So I just basically call an API all from the cloud securely, tunnel through PDMS SP.
Happy 4th of July to help you celebrate. I'm going to light this firecracker and stick it right into your ear. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. Ah, it's great the way that goes like that.
So that's just one example. I mean, you could actually go in and call an API to actually stop it, right? You could call an API to play another audio. You could call it. It was actually downloads that file and actually plays it. Yep, it's not streaming. It actually downloads the file and actually plays it. Yep. So you could use API to install a ringtone. You could use an API to actually go in and change your background screen, right? So, and again, this site is alive, kicking. We're going to have documents. I can't wait to see what you guys are able to build with the set of APIs that we have available. So again, it's to go out and create the amazing experience on our desk phone. OK, so back to my slide again. All right, so another example there is to actually go in and do a emergency notification, right? So you can actually go in and screen pop, play audio, right? To say, hey, by the way, there's an intruder, right? Leave the building now. Or there's an intruder. You update the soft key to say, hey, click here to acknowledge that you're leaving, right? You could then use that for analytics or for data, right? And our soft keys, our line keys are all customizable. And later on, I have a few slides just to talk about that. So. Okay, so we talk about the pull and the push model. I really want to quickly show you guys the pull model, right? So basically, if you build a server and you have all this XML written up, right? How do you have the phone actually fetch that, right? Instead of a push to it, right? So you have a desk phone. You write an XML application, right? So that little black area is basically your XML body, right? We have a document to talk about how you write some of those body. You basically go into the phone and say, hey, I want this line key to be an option for me to turn on and off call recordings, okay? So one nice thing about our line keys is that there's 31 features that you're able to do on our line keys, right? It's not just a call appearance, it's not just a BLF, it's just not a call park. You could actually define that to be XML pool, right? And call it as a call recordings or etc. So for this example here, I'm going to say, hey, I have a soft key defined, and that soft key, when I press on it, is going to turn on and off call recordings, right? So I'm going to go in, press the button, the phone fetches it, gets the XML, bam, it will show this little option for you to say, hey, do you want to turn on or off call recordings? Select your options, click on it, it will then send the next set of command up to your application server. Okay, the second model is a push model, right? So you write all your application, you have your application server, we give you access to PDMSSP, we give you a secure key. Now with this secure key, you'll be able to embed any of our XML body via this secure key, and you can now just push it down to our PDMSSP cloud, and the phone will actually just pop up, right? So no action needed from the user, right? It will actually push an API, and the phone will act on it. Okay, so another example here is, let's say you go in and you have a background screen already defined on the phone, right? And you want to make it fun, right? During Christmas, during Halloween, right? You want to change the background on the user's desk phone. How do you do that, right? So again, via secure key, go in, pop the phone without reboot, will automatically update with a new background screen, right? All via a single API call, right? That's really, really powerful. Okay, so here are the 9 OBi XML that we support today. It's a lot to read through, so I don't expect all of you guys to read through this. But it basically, allows you to create a text menu, create a text screen, right? Ask for input from the user, right? And on this next slide here, I actually do have some examples of our OBi XML framework, right? Again, you will be able to drive this experience to the phone via 2 approach. One is a pull, the other one is a push, okay? So with that, I'd like to give away another phone, okay? So my question this time is, any one of you are able to share with me how many OBi XML type do we have? What's it? Yes, you got it. Yep, 9. That's easy, right? So you got an IP phone to play with. So this solution here, all you need to do is power it up, connect to the internet. We'll get you hooked up with PDMSSP account, and you'll be able to drive all this experience. So, all right. I have about 5 more minutes. All right, let me just drive through this. Webhook. So we talk about webhooks, right? So we talk about APIs, now the webhook, right? So on an incoming call, you want the phone to actually do some, looked up of your Salesforce record, right? When the call is connected, when the call is ended, you want it to webhook to different servers of yours. How do you actually do that? And here are all the webhooks available today. There's a total of 6 of them. And one example here is, inbound caller, right? Someone calls in, the system will basically webhook to us to say, hey, there's inbound call. And what we do is we go out, we actually call another server to say, hey, by the way, there's inbound call, here's a caller ID, give me more information about this caller, right? The server will now send me the XML body to actually say, you know what, I want you to display this information so that when I answer, I know, hey, Essie, by the way, you just ordered some pizza. Are you calling about your pizza order, right? And we allow you to actually define the soft keys for more information for anything you want as a follow-up action. Okay, this is another example of some of the webhooks that we offer from the phone, right? So you can basically say when there's a change in audio power from speakerphone to handset to headsets, I want to know that, right? So we have a way for you to actually subscribe to that webhook, right? Same for call states. The other thing we offer is SIP info, right? So if you have a way to manipulate the SIP info, we are able to actually send richer content down to the desk phone, right? For here, I'm using Gwyneth Paltrow as an example here, right? You can basically say, hey, when there's an incoming call, in the SIP header, I populate all this information in my SIP header. The phone will now take the image displayed and update the name, right? And same for what we call call info. And what it does is that you actually will display a soft key at the bottom of the phone, and when you click on it, it will pull up the next set of information about that caller, right? So this is a good approach if you do have control over your SIP header. Okay, so I have 3 minutes to talk about screen customization. Okay, so here are all the options or areas that we allow you to customize the phone, right? A total of 10 of them, right? So we say our phone is customizable down to the pixel, right? So you can take your line keys, you could take your soft keys, you could take your title bar, right? And go in and change it, right? And the reason why we are doing this is because we think today, usually you see a consistent experience between your client and your soft phone. But when you start to walk to a desk phone, it's like, what is this? I mean, it's like totally different, right? So with this feature, we allow you to now create that one similar DNA look and feel across all your different clients. This is just another example of some of the options you could do, right? You could go in and actually change any of our icons, right? You could go in and create animations for any of our icons, right? You could go in and create apps on many of our icons, right? So this is kind of a lightweight approach for you to now create another set of use case for your user. This is LEDs, right? As you guys are aware, on our phones we have LEDs. It's also customizable. So if you want to go in and say, hey, when it's ringing, when it's connected, when it's registered, I want it to be different colors, you could actually go in and change that on the phone itself. And on the phone menu, right, you could actually go in and update any of our phone menus, right? The fonts, right? If you guys think that network is not the right word, you want to change it to local network, really, really easy. Go in, one line of config change, and the phone will actually update all the respective description on it. And with that, I have 40 seconds before the end of my presentation. Any questions?
First, let's give a big round of applause to Steven.
Thank you. That's a question here.
What's the name or model number of the phone you just gave away?
It's the VVX X50 phones. As you guys are aware, at Polycom, we are now on our 3rd generation of hardware, right? We call this the Gen 3 hardware. So these are the X50, and we have phones from the VVX 150, 250, 350, and 450. There are 4 models today. And all this solution runs 2 different flavors of software. One is the UCS software that you guys are probably very familiar with, and 2 is the OBi software. And as you guys are aware, Polycom acquired OBi about 1.5 years ago, right? 2018, that's right. So yes, VVX X50, yep. And we have the phones out displayed on the booth, so definitely stop by. We could talk more about it. I'll do some quick demos and extend some of this discussion. So.
What's the difference between the 2 software versions?
So they are all open SIP, right? They're all open SIP. But as you guys are aware, Polycom for the longest time have been building up the UCS software, right? On the OBi software, I would say is the customization and the programmability. That's what's really differentiate that software, right? So we have customers that some say, hey, I prefer UCS. Some say they prefer OBi, right? So right now, our strategy is to still offer 2, but longer term, we do have a plan to look at ways to merge them into a single tree. That's right. So. That's right. So we have a different SKU for different software version on it. So when you order, there's a part number for UCS version of the X50 versus the OBi version of the X50, okay? If you change your mind and you want to upgrade between both versions, it's something that we allow you to do today, We're not blocking that. So. Yes. The screen. Yes. No, so the example I show you doesn't require a reboot. Yes, yes. I mean, but if you just go into that setting and you just change it, yes, the phone will do a quick 15-second reboot and refetch it. But my example here, I'm actually asking the phone to refetch that file again, so it doesn't reboot. It just actually updates that file again. It's just a refresh. It will reboot. Yep. But if you keep the file name the same, you're just telling the phone, hey, I want you to refresh that. It will actually go out and refresh that file, and actually it will stay without reboot. So if I wanted to, I don't know, have different phones, and let's say someone makes a sale and they want to update it, and you're like, oh, this one's the sales leader, I would be able to do that without. Yes, yes, yeah, and we'll show you how to do that. I mean, we want to stop by in a little bit. The other thing that I did not show you guys is we have another layer of customization on top of the background screen, right? So if you guys notice on the phone, there is this clock, right? So that clock is fully customizable, and you have a way to put a layer in front of it, right? We have service provider outside of US that actually use that to warn the customers, hey, by the way, you're late on your bill. If you don't go online and pay it, your service might be disrupted in 30 days. Right? So they don't want to interrupt their background screen, but they want to be able to do that image on top of our phone, right? And we do support that too. Any other questions? Quick question about security. Sure. You said you're going to send an authorization code with every one of these requests? Yes. Is that a per phone basis, a per company basis, a per group basis? Awesome, great question. So security is top of mind for us, okay? So number one, on every single one of our PDMSP account, we have something called the organizations, and we allow you to create sub-organizations, right? So if you're a service provider, you sell these phones to like hundreds of your customers, you will now be able to go in and create sub-organization. So depending on where you create the API key under that sub-organization or that master organization, that key only allows you to execute that against those phones under the umbrella, right? So that's one. The second security is it's off by default on the phone. To accept this, you have to actually provision it to turn it on. And last but not least is that you have to set a security key on every single phone. Right? So there are multiple layers of security that we put in place to ensure that not anyone could just go and send John Chamber an audio. Right? When you make the platform very open, you have to make sure security is top of mind for everyone. So, questions? Could you repeat the question? The answer is no today. So we allow you to off-hook the phone via the API. We allow you to make a phone call via the API, but we don't have an API to say, turn on that mic and just start listening, right? The best way to do it is to just have the phone call another server and just make it off-hook, right? That's one way of doing it, right? And that is actually what we recommended some of the emergency company out there to actually implement. It's like when there's an emergency event, tell the phone to all wake up, turn on the mic, send all the audio stream that you receive to your server, and you can then decide what to do with it, right? So, any other questions? Okay. If not, I do have a question for the audience. I have a, this is a VVX 350, right? So it's this color screen here. Again, our goal of giving out this phone is that you will be able to go back, power it on, put it on your PDMSSP, and go build the next set of experience, okay? So my question here is, we talk about programmability. We talk about customization, right? Could any one of you kind of highlight the top 2 or top 3 items that really defines that, right? We talk about the push, the pull, the OBXML, right? What other type of hooks do we actually have in place to actually drive customization and programmability to the phone? Gentleman over there. Awesome, great. You got an award here, so thanks for listening to the presentation. So. Awesome. Thank you. Have fun with it. Thank you. Yep. So I think to kind of sum it up, again, I'll be out here with my team and my crew, so reach out to me anytime you guys have any questions. But thanks for taking your half an hour to listen to my presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank you,
again,
guys.
SC Lee. And a big thanks to Poly for being a 64-bit sponsor. Yes, please give them a big round of applause.